In this video, we're going to look at animal behavior. So we start off with pheromones. Pheromones are chemical substances that are usually produced by an animal. They can serve as a stimulus to other individuals of the same species for one or more behavioral responses. There are alarm pheromones, food trail pheromones, and sex pheromones. Ants produce numerous different pheromones, each with its own distinct purpose. Ants secrete pheromones to attract mates, to signal danger to the colony, or to give directions about a location. Other pheromones act as deterrents, keeping out unwanted ants from foreign colonies or preying insectivores. Still other pheromones communicate ants to congregate. This explains how assiduous ants exercise remarkable cooperation in building a colony. For example, when a spider approaches an ant, will release alarm pheromones that alert all the other ants. Ants may also discharge alarm pheromones as a result from being diverted from their work, such as heavy human steps. Releaser pheromones are also used to mark territory. A fixed action pattern is the simplest form of instinct. This is an innate behavior that is triggered by some sort of signed stimulus and, once initiated, will run to completion. One of the best known examples is the behavior of the nesting Graylag Goose. If an egg is displaced from the nest, the bird will reflexively roll the egg back to the nest with its beak. However, Konrad Lorenz discovered that it will complete this action even if the egg is removed during the behavior. The goose will simply continue with the behavior as if the egg was still there. Fixed action patterns have been said to be hardwired in animals' brains. They are unusual in that they are relatively uninfluenced by the environment once the behavior has been elicited. The existence of fixed action patterns is rather unusual in that a fixed response can lead to maladaptive results, where flexible behaviors are generally more likely to be adaptive by increasing its fitness. Habituation is a form of learning in which an organism decreases or ceases its responses to a stimulus after repeated or prolonged presentations. Essentially, the organism learns to stop responding to a stimulus which is no longer biologically relevant. As an example, organisms may habituate to repeated sudden loud noises when they learn these have no consequences. Habituation usually refers to a reduction in innate behaviors rather than behaviors acquired during conditioning. Associative learning and classical operant conditioning. Associative learning is any process in which a new response becomes associated with a particular stimulus. The two common examples of associative learning are classical and operant conditioning. Let's look at classical conditioning first. Classical conditioning refers to a learning procedure in which a biologically potent stimulus, such as food, is paired with a previously neutral stimulus, such as a bell. It also refers to the learning process that results from this pairing, through which the neutral stimulus comes to elicit a response, such as salivation. These basic facts were first studied in detail by Ivan Pavlov through experiments with dogs. Operant conditioning, on the other hand, is a learning process through which the strength of a behavior is modified by reward or punishment. It is also a procedure that is used to bring about such learning. Although operant and classical conditioning both involve behaviors controlled by environmental stimuli, they differ in nature. In operant conditioning, stimuli present when a behavior is rewarded or punished come to control that behavior. For example, a child may learn to open a box to get the candy inside, or learn to avoid touching a hot stove. Operant conditioning was first described by B.F. Skinner in the 1930s. Imprinting is learning that occurs during a critical period in early life, usually just after birth. Imprinting is a form of learning in which a very young animal fixes its attention on the first object with which it has a visual, auditory, or tactile experience, and thereafter follows that object. In nature, the object is almost invariably apparent. In experiments, other animals and inanimate objects have been used. Imprinting has been intensively studied only in birds, but a comparable form of learning apparently occurs in the young of many mammals and some fish and insects. Agnostic behavior is an aggressive behavior involving threats or combat. Disputes are usually over food or mating. Agnostic behavior can be symbolic in nature. Some forms of agnostic behavior are between contestants who are competing for access to the same resources, such as food or mates. Other times, it involves tests of strength or threat display that make animals look large and more physically fit, a display that may allow it to gain the resource before an actual battle takes place. Although agnostic behavior varies among species, agnostic interaction consists of three kinds of behaviors: threat, aggression, and submission. These three behaviors are functionally and physiologically interrelated with aggressive behavior, yet fall outside the narrow definition of aggressive behavior. While any one of these divisions of behaviors may be seen alone in an interaction between two animals, they normally occur in sequence from start to end. Depending on the availability and importance of a resource, behaviors can range from a fight to the death, or a much safer ritualistic behavior. Through ritualistic or display behaviors are the most common form of agnostic behaviors.